end of 2012, Rise of the Guardians came out. It took a couple months to take effect, so we are going to look at some other art before we get to the fan art, but we're going to get there. Let's get into 2013. Again, physical copies of a lot of things have been lost. 2013, especially with the Jack Frost and Rapunzel art that we're going to get to, was when I really started actually taking care to preserve stuff, mostly because I was posting it online. I know there's stuff from early 2013 that has been lost, but after this, there's no more purges, and that's why the numbers on these are about to start going way up. I think, sorry, I just got emotional for another reason. So in previous years, going over this, I talked about Taya, who was a character. I spent years trying to write her story and the story around her, and there's a lot of art that I did of her that has been lost, which I'm very sad to say. But I think this might actually be the last picture I drew of her and her love interest. I know there was other stuff I did of them, but I think this might have been the last. And I actually find it kind of fitting that it's them kind of walking off. And the idea was it was going to be like the last scene of kind of the story is them like finally walking along the beach to work through their issues and just finally talk about things. I never realized that was the last one I did of them. That feels poetic. This, God, I love this one. I don't remember who this character is. I vaguely remember that she had a backstory and she was connected to some other characters, but I don't remember what it was. I just know that, like, I love this picture. I was so proud of it at the time, and maybe that's part of why I still look at it and I'm still so proud of it. But, like, yeah, I don't remember her story. I don't remember anything about her other than apparently she was really cool. Everything about it. I love this, from even like the way I designed the tank top. And again, I know it's not perfect, but just the angle of her hips and her legs, and the folds in her pants. Don't point out that the arms are all wonky. Just let me be proud of this one, okay? Oh, this one, okay. I was so proud of this one at the time. And I still am. I found the reference piece I used in a magazine. And I was like, oh, I should draw this character. Her name was Gwen. She was friends with Sarah the superhero. She was also a superhero. But I don't think I ever even like designed her outfit or her actual, her superhero costume. But I drew this of her. And one more piece that should be in here somewhere. And I was so proud of it for all the details and the background. And I still am. Like, there's so much I would fix, especially like the proportions on the body and the legs especially are all wrong. But like, I love the lighting and the colors and the detail I put into the skirt, especially. Yeah, I'm still really proud of this one. And it's one of those ones where it's like, okay, I can definitely see potential. Seraphina again. I did draw her quite a bit, even if a lot of it's been lost. I think this one in particular was based on a picture of Avril Lavigne that I found. I don't remember what much about it. The arm is all wonky. The hair is like almost there. Like, I can see what I was trying to do with the way the hair moves. Again, I was referencing a photo of Avril Lavigne. This one is okay, but I'm also glad I have it preserved. This one, I'm a bit confused because my notes tell me that it was done in 2012. But I'm also like 98% sure that, sorry, I'm getting tired of sitting on the floor. I'm like 98% sure that it was actually, the pencils for this were done in like 2011. No, that was a different one. Okay, sorry, I was mixing it up with another piece that got lost at some point. Yeah, no, so this one was 2012. I'm pretty sure it's a character, but I have no idea who. Oh, no. She was one of the mermaids in the superhero story. There were a couple of them. Okay, yeah, I did do this in 2012. I remember now. I was drawing the ocean again, and this one was supposed to be at night, and the idea was that there's a campfire behind her, which is where the lighting is coming from and why it's kind of yellowed. Oh, wow. I actually have bits of yellow and red in the shading on the blanket she has. I didn't realize that. This was very well done. Like, again, not perfect. You can tell, especially her hand is too small and her arm is kind of awkward. I think I actually did a really good job on this. Here we go. Okay, it is not very good, but this was the first piece, as far as I know, this is the first piece I drew of Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians and Rapunzel from Tangled. Get used to that. Quite frankly, we're gonna see a lot of it. This was based on a scene in the fanfic I wrote about them, which was a space opera, hence why he has a way too small blaster holster on his leg. She was the princess of a planet that he and his crew rescued. But yeah, this was the first piece I drew of Jack Frost and Rapunzel, and again, not very good. I would eventually get a little better at drawing Jack. The hair is decent, and so is her dress. So, that's something. This one was drawn as a birthday present for another artist I was friends with at the time. I'm mostly including this here because I can see elements of like what would eventually become my taste and style. From what was supposed to be a ball gown to the flowers and stuff like that, and even like the flower petals around her. Again, this is one of those where I'm looking at it and it's like there's so many things I would change, but also so many things that I'm actually really proud of. Here is Jack Frost and Rapunzel again. Also, again, it's an illustration from a scene in the fanfic I wrote where they were sitting in the cockpit of the ship and just talking late at night. The lighting's not very good. Like, I didn't know how to make it dark and show that it was supposed to be night, so like the light cycles were dimmed. I read a lot of Star Wars books, which is why I was qualified to write a space opera fanfic. This one, so the date I'm getting is 11/05/2013, which would have been just a few days before my birthday. I remember I was referencing a picture I found on Tumblr. The anatomy isn't very good, though. I like the concept. I wish I had bothered to color the blankets between his legs so it didn't look quite so wonky. I was making progress at that point. You can even see her ankles. She has ankle bones. Cool. And her hair looks really good. Not great, but it looks really good. This one, you can start to see the Disney influence really starting to come through again with the gown here. But this was a Christmas present for a friend, and her favorite Christmas carol is Carol of the Bells, and so this was what I ended up drawing for her. I'm not saying it's great, but this was what I drew for her. This was another Christmas one the same year. I don't see the date. I know this one was a little later in December. These were like the last two pieces I did in 2012 or 2013. I actually had friends at that point. I miss those days. Yeah, no, I was part of the fandom and the community for Rise of the Brave Tangled Dragons and stuff, and I had people I was in contact with in the fandom and all that, and so I had friends. Also, for my birthday that year, the friend I did the Belle picture for got me a tablet, a Wacom Bamboo tablet, so I could start doing digital art. And the day I got the tablet was the day my laptop died. And it would be 2 more years before I was able to actually start doing digital art. But yeah, so that was 2013. My mental health was going to get a lot worse over the couple years, but there was progress in my art, so that's something. 2014, I was still in the Jack Frost and Rapunzel fandom, which was still going fairly well. Drawing and being in the fandom was what helped keep me going as I was working a very difficult job. Jack Frost and Rapunzel are back in the bed from that one piece I did towards the end of 2013. This one's okay. I'm not super happy with it. Here we have the last picture of Rin and the only surviving picture of Pyre. And I mentioned way back that I remembered I had colored that one picture of Rin on her skateboard because I had designed something to go on the back of the skateboard. And you can kind of see the design here. I had it drawn down in the corner. It's also not a bad send-off for Rin and Pyre, since that's the last thing I ever drew of them. At least they get to be happy. So Kresh and Téa walked off into the sunset and worked through their problems, and Rin and Pyre have finished a fight, and I think I can leave them to rest. Back to Jack Frost and Rapunzel, though, because this was another illustration for the fanfic I did. I was influenced by the Ice Palace from Frozen, but Elsa was not in this story. Again, it was a sci-fi, or space opera, hence why he's in cargo pants. I was really proud of that design I did for him. Her coat is very basic. I could probably do way better now. The background isn't very good, but I tried. So at one point, I thought about turning that space opera fanfic into an original story, and so I did a couple concept pieces for making Jack and Rapunzel original characters. This was my first initial take. I'm still proud of this one. Jack and Rapunzel again, at this point I was very into playing with the spirits of the season. So this one was kind of a ball or a gala for the spirits, and you have Jack as the spirit of winter and Rapunzel as the spirit of spring. And because she's an artist, I had her paint on herself. This was before A Court of Thorns and Roses came out, just for the record. This is one of those ones where it's like, it's so close to being good. I especially like the dress design I did for her. I never really did a story for that one, but, you know, just playing with the idea. Oh god, this one is so blurry, but it's so good, and I feel bad about that. At this point, I would do little sketch cards for friends. And this one in particular, a friend who was another fan fiction writer, who she wrote a spy thriller. And so I drew her Jack in a suit with the jacket off and shirt unbuttoned and tie undone. And it came out really well. Again, I'm really sad that this one photo that I have of it is blurry. This was another sketch card I did. Again, it's blurry, but this one was Rapunzel, a kind of modern Rapunzel, and I love this one. Okay, Gwen makes one more appearance. I forgot about this. So you remember I did the one of the girl leaning over the cupcake case. This was the same character. It's based on an aesthetic photo I found on Tumblr, which was just kind of like the clawfoot bathtub and the shelf and stuff, and I wanted to draw something similar, and I just threw Gwen into the tub. But again, if that's the last picture I ever drew of Gwen, which I believe it was, and it wasn't even necessarily supposed to be her, I just decided to make the hair pink. But you know what? Considering all I put that character through, I'm glad the last thing I gave her was a nice relaxing bath. I never thought of it. It looks like I've actually given quite a few of my characters nice send-offs. I'm also really happy with the tile floor in this one. The angle is wrong, but it's still a tile floor. Give me a break. This was another attempt at drawing the character from the original version of the space opera. You can see he still had frost powers. But I was really happy of this outfit I designed for him, which was like this vest and cargo pants and stuff like that. And I tried to draw like a winter forest around him. And I think eventually I tried to come back to this one and do it digitally, but I didn't get very far. But overall, like, if I could have done the background the way I wanted, and like if I'd had the skill do that, I think this would have been really impressive. So this one, I had a friend who she came up with a Jack Frost and Rapunzel AU of like her as the Lady of the Lake and him as a knight that she assists. And I really liked her design for said Lady of the Lake Rapunzel, and so I decided to draw it myself. And this one also, in 2020, I believe, I started doing a digital paint over of this one, but I never finished because I got overwhelmed. But I still have the canvas. I think this is the only time I drew Hiccup and Merida. Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon and Merida from Brave. I was never super into the pairing, but especially after How to Train Your Dragon 2 came out, I was like, yeah, no, I can't ship Hiccup with anyone but Astrid. And they were watching something burn. I have no idea what, but yeah, they were watching something burn. And I am really happy with this one though. And I did the yellow fire reflected off her jacket and even his face. Why don't I do that now? Overall, I am really happy, especially with like her hair and the way it goes over and under his arm and the creases in their jackets. Really proud of that. This one came out really well. Okay, this one, neither of these came out as well. But like I mentioned, I really liked the idea of Jack and Rapunzel as like spirits of the season and this kind of eternal love story. I think I might have done it for a friend as her Christmas gift. The anatomy is not great, especially on Rapunzel. This is another one where like I tried to go back to it a few years ago, and actually I think it was just a few months ago I tried to go back and I got overwhelmed trying to fix the anatomy. I would have to start from scratch. And I don't know if I'm motivated to start from scratch, if that makes sense. But the idea is that, you know, she's spring. So she'll have all the plants and the flowers and the animals. I titled it Send Him My Love. So it's like she's sending him a message through a red cardinal. And so you see it perched on her finger and she's telling it what to say to him. And then you see it arriving to him in the winter. I don't know. It wasn't an actual story, just like what I came up with when I was drawing it. And it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, the fact I came back to it years later, I think makes it kind of clear that like, I wish I could do this one justice because I think I could do it better now, but it would take a lot of time, especially like doing her background properly. This was another Rapunzel one that at the time I was really proud of. But yeah, this is one of those ones where like it has potential, but I don't think it's very good. This one, but at the time there had just been a release of like Disney princess inspired wedding gowns, which is something they still do like every year as part of the Disney wedding industry, I guess. I really was not happy with the dress that they did for Rapunzel, so I designed my own. And I'm still really happy with it. And obviously, in my version, she's marrying Jack Frost. That's why there's some blue frost around the edge. But yeah, the picture itself is not great. And like even the dress is not super well drawn, but I do still like it overall. That was 2014. It's one of those years where like I see decided progress and I could definitely see myself getting better, and I was definitely pushing my own boundaries, I think, is a big part of it. And so I was getting better, not necessarily with every picture, but I was getting better.